Okay, this is my final scene for today. I've already posted 3 videos, but they're just short technique ones and one slightly longer one. But there was this really cool reference photo that someone posted on the Facebook Stampscapes group, and it was of this kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, it's kind of iridescent looking sky. I don't know how realistic it is, but it's very dramatic. I think it's some sort of I don't know, like a composite photo of kind of your rainbowy looking types of touches in there. It could be some sort of time lapse, but they have a kind of a figure in there. So I happen to think it was a composite of something. But nevertheless, hey, it doesn't even matter. It's cool. So that is a scene that I felt that we could do really easy on the rainbow holographic foil. Okay, now I could just stamp the lower portion of this and just be done with it, but I think it's a little bit better if you get some variation going in here. Okay, so I'm applying some black ink. It's almost like smudging, I don't know, shoe polish over this or something like that. If you rub deeper, it kind of rubs off. And if you kind of tap a little bit lighter, and you can do wipes like this or whatnot, and to use whatever you want. Sometimes I take a little paintbrush and I kind of, get some extra textures in here. But giving this little extra texture like this, you see what I'm doing here? I'm kind of blocking off, from both sides of this just to, have some sort of semblance of containment, compositional containment. Okay, when you just have things open, you can contain it in a couple different ways. You can put it in like a matte card, formatting, and the border will be your containing type of element. All right, just simply having a border around there. But if you can hit it with some additional tone like that, where the actual piece has some containment in it as well, that's just kind of an extra little touch. And plus, when I start stamping on this, it's going to be so fast. This card is not a long format composition, layout, or whatever you want to call it, scene. Okay. In fact, I think I'm just going to be using 2 stamps on there. Okay, so I'm just adding this on here. I'm kind of getting the feel for it. The wetter your ink is, it's going to apply differently, so, adjust accordingly. Get a feel for how your ink is applying. Okay. Now this is Brilliance graphite black pigment ink. Okay. So it is going to be able to either air dry, or you can heat set this very quickly. All right. So this is just kind of moving around. It's kind of control. The technique here is, it's akin to controlling a smudge, okay? You can see I'm just rubbing it on here. If there's anything yet you don't like when you're doing this, okay, you can go in here and just wipe it right off. See that right in there? But, that being said, it will air dry. It just doesn't air dry instantly, okay? In fact, if you put, a decent amount on here, you might want to let it air dry overnight. If it's super cold where you are, and I don't know, not very, super humid, maybe it takes longer to dry and set up. If you're in a very arid location and it's warm, I don't know, it could cut down the drying time, I don't know, by 10 times the amount or something like that, believe it or not. I never would have thought that before. I always mention this, my demonstrating at the Mesa, Arizona stamp convention for, a couple days, and going back there a couple times, it's like, you know what, my inks are drying like so fast here. I'm having to re-ink them all the time, over the course of like an 8-hour period. I'm using them a lot, but not all the colors. And usually if I re-ink something, for me, like a black pad or something like that, I mean, I'm usually not just stamping for 8 hours a day either, like I am, in that venue. But I'm good, my pad like this, I ink it up, and I'm good for, I don't know, weeks at times. I mean, of course, it depends how much I'm using it, that color, but there, you might be re-inking like 3 times a day. Okay, so, all right, this scene has this little figure photo. Had a little figure kind of looking up at this kind of nighttime sky, and it had this kind of ridge like this, and the person just standing there. Very dramatic, I don't know, it doesn't sound dramatic, but it is a very dramatic photograph, especially with all those colors like that. Okay, so I'm going to ink. Oops, I was using this. I need to use this dye-based ink is not going to dry on here. All right, now this is, when I get my impression with this stamp right here, this stamp is from my Isles set. It's also sold individually. But there's a lot of solid on here, okay? And this is thick, oil-based pigment ink, all right? And it's almost like you're stamping this onto a mirror or a piece of plastic or something like that, okay? It's not porous, so when we stamp this down like this, I'm going to stamp it at an angle, okay? About like so. Just like the photograph I'm referencing. I wish I could show you the photograph. I'll have like a split screen video format one of these days. In fact, I could start doing that pretty soon. I just need to get that software again. That wasn't working on my last computer. Okay, but what I was getting at here was you'll get some fisheye like that typically, okay? Now I could have held that down and, let more of the ink transfer, but I know I didn't need to do that because I can just go back in, oops, with my cotton ball like this and fill that area in, okay? So yeah, I did a video on stamping on foils, okay, because it is very non-porous, so you might have to do something. And you can't press too much. Now, not necessarily with such a big stamp like this. This stamp is really huge, but with the smaller stamps, watch my video on, if you try this technique, as far as impression pressure, okay? This is a thick pigment ink, so imagine you put, like toothpaste on the bottom of this or something like that, and you squeezed it onto a piece of glass or something. It's going to all squeeze out, and then when you lift this, it's not going to leave an impression down there. It's going to be kind of squeezed out, and then you're going to get this perimeter application of toothpaste. In this case, it's thick oil-based ink, which is practically like paint, okay? There's not some kind of really minute sweet spot or something like that, okay? But you do just have to kind of be mindful of it. A couple impressions. I'd say you take one, piece of paper like this, and you try out several impressions using your ink. And you'll get the feel of kind of what the ideal amount of pressure is, and also you kind of hold your stamp to surface and just let that ink transfer a little bit more and see how that goes with various time frames. Okay, so you might hold down for 30 seconds, lift, see how it looks, see if the ink transferred over. And that looks good. You can try it for 20 and 10, but with the same stamp, and you'll get a much better idea of kind of the characteristics of the impression pressure that you'll need. And it just depends on, the size of your stamp, too. The larger the stamp, the more pressure maybe. Smaller the stamp, less pressure, okay? Because your pressure will get distributed amongst the amount of surface area of a given design. Not the size of it, but the surface area, okay? All right, now I am just adding a much stronger perimeter application of this ink just to kind of match this super dark tone below. All right, and maybe I'll come across here a little bit more here and there. Okay, go something like that, but look at all these colors like that. Someone said this is a kind of a complicated process, or looking process. I get it in terms of a mirrored type of thing. It's not complicated, but it is very different from, say, if you're working on matte, cardstock your whole life, stamping out an image and, dye-based ink and coloring it in. All right. This is different. It's faster, and I think very dynamic. It's a different feel, but as far as a process goes, you just have to get the feel of it. And I don't know. I think it takes less time to learn something like this than, say, Copic color blending or something like that, okay? Getting this is one ink on this surface right here. For me, too. When I'm doing this, every time I do this, I'm kind of having to relearn it a little bit. Not because I haven't done it before, but like just the air temperature and the amount of ink that's on here that I'm applying. I don't know, it seems to matter. So I'm making my little adjustments. Like I put down that one layer of ink and it couldn't get any darker, okay? But here I almost forgot that if you allow that to set up a little bit, see how much darker it got? Because this ink, in that amount of time, started to set up and get a little bit tackier on the surface so that when I apply that ink, I'm not removing it, okay? So you can just keep doing that. You can kind of do it in phases. You can kind of allow it to dry a little bit and to set up and adhere, I guess. I guess it's adhering to the surface a little bit more. See, I'm just kind of moving this around a little bit. Every time I touch the surrounding area, I'm getting this fingerprint because I touch it there and I remove it. You can use that too. I love using the reverse stamping technique where you take a clean stamp and you dip it into the wet pigment ink and you remove the ink and it gives you a reverse impression, which is so much fun. All right, so that is that. Now that scene, I'm not just trying to replicate that photo. I don't have the stamps for that, but I felt we can get pretty close. Now what I'm going to use my little horseback rider, lady rider, and I am going to use her. I think she'll make for a really dramatic silhouette here, looking at the nighttime sky. So we'll go like this. I stuttered a little bit because I wanted to make sure that was on the hill, and I wasn't quite sure if I stamped it low enough. Okay, so let me hold this down. I'm going to let it transfer. I just touched that base right there. Let's fill that in. This is the most forgiving medium you'll ever come across. If I don't like this at this point in time, even though that ink is kind of setting up pretty good, I'm pretty sure I can wipe the entire card off. Not only that, this Recollections Rainbow Holographic, it's 25 full-size sheets, and it's often on sale for $3.33. Not per sheet, but for 25 sheets of it, so it's incredibly affordable as far as inks go. Okay, now this one fisheyed on me a little bit in there too, but we have the perfect applicators for that too. See if I look real carefully like that. Now there are variations. I have tonal differences in that design as well, but that's not all of it, in there. So all you do, what do you do? Here's your little color applicator. It's a cotton swab, Q-tip. And you can just kind of paint in like this, and it makes for a fantastic little applicator, okay? All right, so we have our little figure. Yeah, this works really good for some of these smaller areas, okay? All right, now that is that, but this to me, in that photograph, it didn't have it, but I think that this piece could really use some additional texture, and I thought that the bleed-proof white would look really good on here. So let's do that. I haven't mixed this up in a while, or did I? Maybe I did. This is an opaque watercolor paint. White watercolor paint, and it's really fantastic. Even the smallest dots are very opaque. Okay, you can use other things, white out, correctional fluid. people have used paints and gessos, and so on and so forth. It's not going to be, I don't think any of them are going to be as opaque as this bleed-proof white, okay? Calligraphers use this to, do letter forms on, darker cardstocks, invitations, whatever. And I don't know, it's relatively inexpensive. It's getting more expensive now, but I don't know, I think it was like less than $7 a bottle. My first bottle lasted me 20 years, and I used it so, a lot. Because I don't do calligraphy, so I'm not using a lot of it. I'm just, barely like splattering it a little bit. Okay, I don't want a bunch of stars over my little figure here, so I might, cover her up a little bit like so, okay? And I'll just go for some stars up top. I'm going about 6 inches away, okay? Okay, oops. I oversprayed right there. Now this stuff dries really fast too. The bleed-proof white. There's something real chalky, and I think that's what makes it so opaque. Let me color over some of those stars. Okay, now let's go for a little bit of variation too. Oh, see, I should really heat set this so when I'm handling it, it's not so prone to ink removal. But let's just do that right now. It'll take me 10 seconds. Don't heat on your self-healing cutting mats, otherwise they'll, this area down below is my self-healing cutting mat. I started doing a lot of heat setting on it, and it was, I think it started to bow on me a little bit. Okay, now don't burn your hand as I keep things moving, and where I was holding it, I was heating kind of the other side, so be mindful of that. Okay, I got another fingerprint up here. They'll be able to check you for evidence, with this type of process right here. Okay, now I have my white paint pen, and this will just give me some variation. Let's see, I'll show you the stars up here. All right. It just makes for a textural change, which I think is, I don't know, I think it's important in something like this, especially when we don't have anything up there. Or maybe I'll put a quote stamp. It seems like this area up here, this is what the photograph looked like. It was just, the star of the piece was that, dramatic sky up there. And this would look a little bit more dramatic had I used my chrome coat rainbow holographic. This one's much more mellow, but I stopped using that in these videos because you couldn't find it anymore. There was still a little bit of remaining stock out there. I bought a pack myself or a couple packs from a couple different sellers that still had some, but it looks like they eventually ran out. And it doesn't come as a surprise because Chrome Coat went out of business years ago. Okay, so there's some larger dots like that. Now, I'm not getting the larger dot just by going boop like that. I'm kind of doing a little scribble like that, drawing a little bit of a, let me see, I'll do one here for you. I'm doing this type of thing. Okay, and you get a bigger dot right there. Some crystals up here might be kind of interesting. All right, let me see if I have kind of a good quote stamp here. Night music, that might be kind of interesting. I wonder if something like this would even show. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm tempted to put the ideal location is really right down here in this area. All right, let me look for a good stamp. Yeah, right down in here is a perfect spot for a quote stamp. But let me see if I can find a really good one as far as font um, size and thickness. Okay, I think I found a pretty good quote. Good friends are like stars. You don't always see them, but you know they are always there. What's good about this one is I don't remember using. I haven't remembered. I don't remember using this for a while. I think that putting it up here, I thought that would look okay, but when I thought about this big open space down here and doing kind of a reversal look type of thing, I thought that would be even better. Now, if this is still wet, I could have stamped this down there and just removed it and had that reverse in there, but I don't know if that would look good. I don't know if it would stood out enough. White is another possibility, but I just don't know if it'll stand out enough. So I'm thinking about going with the Starlight Silver. Let's just give it a try. I know it'll stand out a lot more than white. White looks very translucent, okay? Which maybe in this case could be good, but I just think I want a little bit more, slightly more impact. I don't want this to stand out too much. I want it to harmonize. Oh, okay. I know what I'll do. Okay, you know how I was putting those little dots up there in white? I'll put a couple in silver too. I think that'll kind of balance things off a little. I don't even know how wet my silver pad is here, but let me get good coverage with this. I never know where the ink is. Sometimes it looks like much inkier up top there, so let's see. Trying to figure out where the ink is coming from on this. Let me see if that's an illusion. Just holding it up a light. Okay, this is taking forever just to ink this up. I just want a really good covering because I'm going to say I only have one shot at this, but if I don't stamp it out really good down there, you just take your black ink and cover it up again, and then just do it again, okay? But I'd prefer to get it in one try, of course, okay? Alright, I'm just eyeballing, I'm kind of looking at the side of this. I don't have a stamp positioner, which would probably be better. But I don't know, I wing it. Okay, and here's that thing with that ink transfer type of thing. You don't want to squeeze it too hard, but I just have firm pressure, and you notice I'm kind of walking it with my fingertips like this. I'm distributing my pressure evenly. I don't want to rock it either. I want to just, go straight down and come up. All right, that looks pretty good, I think. All right. It stands out quite a bit. I mean, one word here would have been, I don't know, kind of bolder, okay? And probably more fitting, but I think I don't know, just the quote itself, I just felt it was really appropriate. And I hadn't used it in a while, so I really like it. On this piece, it is silver. And this, that rainbow holographic is, it's for the most part, it's like foil. It's like silver-y. But there's so many colors in there. And see this right down here? It's, I don't know, it's not real super shimmering chrome or anything like that. But I just think for continuity, a few stars up there in silver ink wouldn't hurt. Okay, and I happen to have silver pens. If I didn't have the silver pens, I wouldn't sweat it. You don't need to go get it. But if you have it, if you have these kind of things that provide what I call like a needle and thread, it's a common thing running through things, okay? It just brings visual continuity and harmony to a piece by having similar things running through. It could be colors, pattern, shapes, what else? I don't know, those types of things. Did I say textures? I don't know. But, we can do that, if you're an interior decorator, you're doing that from, within the rooms and from room to room, but on a card, we're doing it from area to area. So I'm adding these. I'll hold this up and see if you can see these. I'm sure you can't see these little silver dots here, but hopefully you can get a little bit of the gist of it, if you can see it a little bit in here. I'm putting it mostly on kind of those darker areas, but you can put it, here and there over the foil. Like that. Okay, let's see if we can see it. Okay, so that's... let's see if we can see it a little bit. Sometimes with the metallics paints, you can't see it, and then you hold it. Okay, see these right here? That little cluster, watch this. I mean, I put it quite a few of them throughout. But you can kind of see them kind of coming and going. It's because they kind of disappear. See these ones right here, right? They kind of disappear, but then when they catch the light, I mean, it looks like white, right? But you see the white ones don't change, okay? So, you get these kind of silver ones appearing, then disappearing a little bit. Yeah, like these two right here. See that? They kind of disappear, but then, at certain angles there is, there was like light as the white, but then it kind of recedes. So, you get a little bit of variation that way. And, okay. I'm going to put a couple more elements on there. I send these cards out, to people, usually in orders. I got to spray them and format them and stuff like that still, but, I just think someone will appreciate this last little touch on here using a couple little crystals. It's already kind of a fun piece on the holographic foil inherently. Oops, I knew that was going to happen one of these days. My pen didn't come out. Let me see if I can get that out of there. Oh, it came out. Shock. Okay, I'm just going to apply some of this glue here. And we'll put a couple kind of crystals, clear crystals. All of you probably have crystals as crafters, right? Or something akin to them, right? A piece of glitter or something like that. I don't know. You can put like a star up here too. It doesn't have to be like a little twinkling light. It could be like a like a kid's star, like a glow in the dark or something like that would even be cool. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna have to go fairly bold, so I'm picking out some of my larger crystals here. This is a multi-pack that I got because it was super cheap, and they looked good in the photograph, so I got them, and I think I think I'm good for 10 years, with how many there are in here. I think they're meant for like people that do like manicures and pedicures, where you're using like a lot of these. But I put like 3 and a piece, or I don't know, 6 every now and then. But there we go, with those little twinkly little elements like that. It's like the light. It's like almost like there's a little LED up there. These 3 right there. They're capturing that light. But it just makes for a little bit of an extra. See those right there? An extra little charm. Okay. All right. I'll try to format this. I'll probably need to dry this off a little bit first. So I won't stick this in quite as far this time. But see, that's always there for me. And we'll format this into a card, and we'll see what it looks like. I don't know if I've done too many formatted rainbow holographs, maybe recently, but I don't know. Things just always look better in card format. So, all right, so we'll do that. Okay, just a simple mounting right here. Just a real thin layer of white around there. I was going to go with the silver immediately around that perimeter, but I thought it really needed the white to bring out those little white little speckles in there. And then the silver chrome foil around the edge. I thought about going another holographic around the edge. I thought it would be a little bit overkill and thought it'd be better to kind of focus that in here. So anyways, I feel that that quote is bold, but I don't feel it's overpowering when you look at this at kind of arm's distance. I think it looks okay. I would have preferred that to be a little bit over, you know, just a touch more. But then it was getting really close to the edge here anyways. So I don't know. I think it looks okay like that. But anyways, let's take a look at this foil and the benefits of the foil. All of those inherent colors in that rainbow holographic like that. These almost look like islands out here to me, more than sky. I could have gone like this, you know, this direction, and it could have been more kind of aurora borealis, but I think that looks okay like that. I don't know. I put a couple more fingerprints into here because it was still a little bit wet, okay? And I was worried about smearing this down here, but I heat set it, so it was fine. That's one of the benefits of the Brilliance inks. They'll heat set on, you know, for you if you need them to be heat set. If I'm not shooting this video and doing these extra layers and mounting this like this, I'd probably let this just sit out overnight and just let it dry naturally. Now, the pigment inks, the Brilliance inks will dry to a little bit more of a flat black look. You can see it there. And they were much more, I don't know, kind of glossy when they were freshly applied. But if you spray seal this, it'll bring back a little bit of the value of the wet looking ink. I don't know if it'll look exactly the same, but it brings that out a little bit more and darkens it. I was worried that it could spread out my inks, but I haven't experienced that so far, so I find that a good spray sealing, you know, you'll benefit from it without doing anything kind of obtrusive to the whatever the integrity of the prints or the applications of color or ink. All right, so anyways, hope you enjoyed this scene. I want to thank the person that posted that inspiration photo. Always kind of interested in seeing things like that. They see these things and they think, hey, that'd be cool if we could kind of attempt that in scenic stamping. So I don't get around to all of them, but I don't know, I get around to the ones that I can or feel that, especially if I look at it and say, oh, you know, I've got that stamp right there. But I wasn't thinking about the quote or something like that when I first started doing this, or really the splatter painting, but I just kind of react, you know, accordingly with what I see, with what these things look like. I just felt that extra texture up there kind of benefit the scene. As far as those little crystals like that, I mean, I think those are really fun up there and just give that little twinkle. So if I feel like doing that, you know, it's like bringing out the little kid in you, where you know, if it's a glow-in-the-dark thing, you run in the closet and, you know, look at the glow-in-the-dark things in there or something like that. Those little crystals like that really make you, you just can't help but do this and kind of watch them twinkle like that. So, I don't know, it's just all fun stuff. So anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please do so in the comment section below. And if you want to know exactly what was used in this, just hit the description section below these videos and it'll expand the section. It'll tell you all the stamps and supplies that were used in these pieces. Okay, so anyways, thanks again. Look at that. See, there's that lighting on that quote down there. And of course the lighting changes the holographic colors too. I don't know, to different things. Look how cool that one is. Cool temperature. And you get there, and it's a little bit warmer toned. I don't know. It's interesting stuff to